Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're going to tackle this membership saga that's going on within the Vortex. Now, everybody should know by now that Phil's memberships don't mean jack shit, right? On DSP Gaming and on the now Throwback channel, even though Phil has now backtracked and lied about the memberships on there. But basically, I want to go over what happened today on the podcast because Phil has told many stories since these membership bombs have dropped. And I just want to go over them and actually test because I've actually already done the test. We'll go over that here shortly. We're just going to listen to what Phil had to say today on the podcast. So let's just jump right into it.
Get to the subject at hand that everyone wants to know about, right? Let's do it. Let's talk about it, because finally I have my definitive answer of what's been going on this last week and a half with these member bombs. All right? So let's review what I'm talking about so you get the full story now in one section. I'm sure OP Boone will timestamp this video with AI, and this will be the start of the story of the...
You don't timestamp the video with AI, Phil. Like, fuck's sakes.
Member bomb nonsense that's been going on, because I finally got all the answers. Why do I have all the answers? Because people can't keep their mouths shut.
Now, this doesn't make any sense. Like, basically what Phil's going to get into here right away is basically what the detractors are thinking what's going on. Again, Phil has changed the story multiple times. To begin with, the first thing of the story was he's got all these memberships, he's making all this extra money, things are great. Right? The theory the detractors had is that he was pre-spending, right? He was spending money he didn't have, counting on the money he was going to get for these memberships, right? The second story was that he only made $70 off the memberships, which, if you calculate it, it's actually $91 minus the 30% from YouTube, comes down to $70, which, if it was in American funds, it would have been like 23 members that were going to only accept those memberships, right? Then it changed into everything was being refunded. People need to log into their accounts to accept the memberships, and he was losing all this money, and the sky was falling. And now we're going to get into this conspiracy here. So let's listen on.
Seriously, most of the time when these kind of things happen, if people just kept their mouths shut, no one would ever figure them out. But people can't help it. They just gotta brag. They gotta go, stroke their EP-ness on forums somewhere. They big assy code coming out of their crotch and stuff. They can't resist. And so because of that, all this stuff finally comes to light. And now, the reason I'm telling this story is twofold. Number one, I do want you guys to know what's really going on. But number two, I feel like this is a cautionary tale.
Now, you can see that, you can tell by his body language that he's lying, right? Typical Phil, when he's lying, he's twitching more than normal, right? He's rocking back on the X and Y axis more than normal. He's looking all over the place. He's scanning chat to see if anybody's calling him out. Now, nothing has come out on any forums. Nothing on the Kiwi forums, even though Null has hidden the DSP forum, the subforum. There's nothing on any detractor discords for anybody coming forward with any type of LARP, and we'll get into that.
For anyone right now who's making content on YouTube, it might actually affect other sites as well, but right now I'm only aware of this being something going on YouTube, okay? So allow me to explain. Last week, on the 7th of January, I received 200 gifted memberships from someone named Nikita. This is someone who I'd never spoken with before, had no idea who they were. No one had any idea who they were. But it was 4 bombs of 50 memberships, totaling 200 that day. And everyone was stoked because they got divvied out. People actually received them, and they were using their emotes, and they had the tags and badges and everything. And everyone was super excited for this. Like, wow, this is neat.
Now, let's just be clear. Phil knows who's dropping member bombs based on emails, especially like tips and stuff. He will audit them, right? So he knows when he's getting big money from people that he can trust, right? So Phil knows what's going on, right? These are actual real memberships that are being gifted to Phil, just not in the way that he thinks.
Obviously, I was happy. I love it when my community gets rewarded like that. It's one thing.
Nah, Phil, if you were happy that your community is getting this stuff, you wouldn't be complaining about the revenue that you're losing. The only reason that you're talking about this is because you've lost revenue based on the currency that was purchased for these memberships.
if I get a contribution, because that directly helps me in the business. But when the community also makes out, that's really cool. And I knew with all these new playthroughs coming out that people were going to enjoy having access to the emotes and the badges and everything. You were going to have a great time with it, right? So it made me feel great. Oh, wow, feeling of community and, you know, support and growth. The next day, January 8th, I receive another member bomb of 200 members from the same person. Now, I just want you to think about this. My memberships in the United States cost $3.99 each. So this person buying 400 members in 2 days essentially just spent, think about how much money they just spent. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of money that they just spent, right? And you got to wonder
if it was in USD currency. Now remember, Phil thinks that no matter what, he's going to get paid that $3.99 per membership. And that isn't how it works. That is never how it has worked. Phil doesn't understand currency conversion. Now remember, this is a valedictorian of his high school, right? And Phil went to Notre Dame in Connecticut. That's supposed to be a prestigious high school. I gotta think that this is like a special ed school, but you look it up and it's not. I can't believe that this fucking regard was the valedictorian, because he doesn't understand. Like, they teach you this stuff in high school. I learned this stuff in high school, so I don't know how he doesn't understand this.
Is it really legit? Did they just spend over $1,000 to support this channel and the community? You always got to ask.
He never questioned this. When this happened, he never questioned it.
A regular in the chat, and they've been here for years, and they're a long-standing fan, and they say, I just want to help out everyone. Here we go. Then I would immediately trust it. But as you guys know, I've been through the ringer over the years.
He trusted these memberships, right? He trusted these wholeheartedly. This never came up until a week after, when he still didn't get the revenue for it, because he didn't understand the revenue.
I've seen so many different ways of trolling, chargebacks, crimes committed against me in attempts to try to fuck with me and my business and my livelihood. So whenever I see something like this, right, I tend to be very skeptical. Now, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, right? But at the same time, you got to wonder. So basically, after a couple of days, I started looking at my YouTube revenue, and no revenue seems to be recorded for those 400 gifted memberships. To which I'm like, now I'm skeptical. I'm like, how could I have gotten 400 memberships but no real increase in income?
So basically, this is confirmation that Phil really watches his revenue stream daily for what he makes on YouTube, depending on super chats, gifted memberships, super thanks, and his tips. So he is hardcore monitoring every day how much money he's bringing in to know what he can pre-spend.
Those 2 days, it doesn't seem to make sense, right? And some people were starting to say things like, oh, well, maybe what it was these people were from another country, like Nikita, whoever Nikita is. Maybe Nikita is from another country, and in their country, memberships cost something different. So maybe you did get paid, but you got paid less than what you would have thought. So instead of making, you know, if it's a $4 membership, I would have made like $2.50 a membership, but maybe not. Maybe in their country it's way cheaper, so maybe you made like $1 a membership instead. Can you confirm that? And I looked, no, I didn't even get that. Like, I didn't get $400 for 400 memberships. Like, no, there's like nothing.
Now, this is a lie, because Phil actually did state when he first got it, he said he made about $70 on the membership. Right? If you go back, I'm not going to bring up the old streams or anything, but Phil did state that he made $70, and he changes the story, right? This is why, again, pathological liar, con man, scam artist, whatever, right? He's going to change that story to fit his narrative. That's, to coin a phrase that Phil uses, just so he can guilt trip these dents into giving him even more money.
In there, right? So I'm like, definitely, that can't be it either. So what could it be, right? So a couple days pass. It hits January 10th. Okay? And
see on January 10th, I could get you see that? You see how scared he is? He's just watching chat to make sure that nobody is calling him out. So he could just ban right away, or hopefully a moderator's catching it in time.
400 memberships, this time from someone whose name is Duty. Now at this point, I'm skeptical. I'm like,
okay, he's going to get into Duty streams here, right? And everybody knows the detractors talk about Duty all the time. I'm not going to say anything, okay? Fuck it. Now, this was actually confirmed. OIC did state in the chat, and I haven't been able to find it. I can't remember where I saw the chat link. OIC confirms that he was the one under the Duty sock that gifted Phil these other memberships, right? And this is something that OIC does a lot. Like, OIC right now, he has Phil convinced that he's going through HRT treatment just to LARP and to troll Phil, right? And OIC is a sociopath, right? He plays Phil and he plays the detractors, but Phil won't do anything about OIC because OIC gives him a lot of money. And OIC is probably the one that has done this big op on Phil, and Phil won't accept it. So, and we're going to look at that later here. So let's continue on listening to Phil go on about duty here and duty streams.
Those first 400 memberships didn't seem to count for anything. Could these be real? So I go check this person's YouTube channel, all right? And their YouTube channel has existed since 2021, so it's not a new, like, dummy account. But they definitely changed the name. The name was something different previous. I couldn't tell what it was, but you could tell they had just changed the name to say Duty. Now, here's the thing. As you know, one of my detractors' names is Duty, or Duty Streams or something. I mean, what a big-brained fucking person to name themselves Duty. I mean, you're a real fucking genius, right? You can name yourself anything on the planet, and you name yourself after fecal matter. That's
Phil, he gets more viewers than you do right now, right? Actually, for a long time, Duty Streams brings in a lot of viewers, right? And he brings in probably better revenue than you do.
pretty impressively smart, isn't it? Anyway, so I'm thinking this person is probably trying to spoof my detractors. Maybe even give them like a razz, right? So I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know, this one even more than Nikita is probably questionable. Because now you can tell this is an account that just changed their name. They changed it purposefully to a detractor's name, right? But the thing was, the memberships went out, and people got them, and people had all the benefits. It wasn't like these memberships went out, people were like, oh, I have they're fake. I can't use the emotes, I can't use... No, they all worked. Okay? So within 3 days, well, 4 days, a 4-day span, I got 500 gifted memberships on this channel, right?
So what Phil's explaining here is that people are accepting these and using these, and that's not actually true. He's going to contradict himself here right away, right? Phil has stated that a lot of these were actually refunded because Phil doesn't have the viewership that he thinks he does. Okay? Phil doesn't have thousands of unique viewers like he says he does every day. No. Phil has probably like 23 dents, right? Like you look on a stream, right? Phil has maybe what? Anywhere between 250 to 450, maybe a little bit generous there, that viewers per day. That's mostly made up. There's probably 23 dents in his chat. You can tell that by how his chat operates, right? The participants in his chat. The rest are made up by detractors that are watching him and clipping him, or detractors that are restreaming. The rest are made up by viewbots and socks, right? Like OIC socks. We had the issue, what was it, about a year ago. Team Ico Gamer, if everybody remembers that one. Team Ico Gamer gifted Phil a bunch of memberships. The problem was, at the time, there were so many memberships that Phil had to open up. He had to disable 24-hour sub mode, right? Because nobody was accepting the memberships. There weren't enough people. And we're at that point again, where these 1,100 memberships now that he has on his channel is at 1,147. So these 1,147 members, out of that, roughly 23 people out of these 500 gifted memberships actually were accepted. Okay? This is based off of Phil's math of $70. So that means that Phil would have to disable sub-only mode. Otherwise, it's going to go to accounts that have gone by Phil's chat before, gone by Phil's stream, right? They may see it and not accept it, or they're a brand account, or they don't have automatic memberships be accepted, right? They don't have it enabled. Or these accounts are just dead, right? Like dead OIC accounts, dead detractor accounts, whatever, right? Sock accounts and shit like that. There's not enough viewership to warrant Phil having 1,147 members. There just isn't, right? He has to get rid of sub-only mode if he wants that. But then it's going to fill up with detractors. It's going to fill up with trolls. It's going to fill up with everything. So that's a decision that Phil has to make for himself.
Okay. So, as you know, the weekend happened and all of that. My day off happened last week and everything. And I come back to streams this week, and I basically told you guys at the beginning of the week, it's weird that it's not recording any income for those gifted memberships. And now there's 500 of them. And none of them
that's a lie.
As revenue.
That's a lie, because he did state he got $70.
I'm like, something definitely gives here, right? In the meantime, someone else came on these streams by the name of X Hooligan. And this person did a series of super chats as well as 50 gifted memberships. But this person started speaking in Spanish. And then we were using Google Translate to try to figure out what they were saying. Well, one of the things that they said, all right, was something like, oh, so I like your content, but I have to go poop. You mean like duty? You see what I mean? So basically, this guy is probably the same person. All right, but now they're pushing the envelope even further. Not only are they doing fake gifted memberships of some kind, but now they're actually trying to get attention on the streams as well by doing super chats and getting me to respond. You understand? So at first, you know, I was responding positively to this stuff. But this person, after a couple days, kept doing these super chats in Spanish. And after a while, I started to see a pattern brewing. Okay? And basically, after seeing that pattern, I kind of started to figure out what might have been going on. Because there's something that happens here on YouTube.
There's no pattern.
That, to my knowledge, is an exploit. I don't know if it's actually like...
Not an exploit.
It seems to be an exploit. What is an exploit? An exploit means that someone has found a loophole in a system that should not exist and was not part of the original design of the system, yet they found a way to use it for personal gain or benefit.
So he's leaning somebody here. Somebody here is getting leaned.
And you might say, exploit, well, what's the exploit? All right, so here's what I'm to understand, and people can correct me on this because I only know of this from people telling me and through my research basically last night, where I found out through someone contacting me and telling me, this always happens too. People contact me behind the scenes, they'll be like, Phil, just so you know, we found out what really is going on. For example, when I got kicked out of Twitch, the partner program 2.5 years ago, now it's almost 3 years ago. At first I had no clue what happened and Twitch wouldn't respond, and then someone behind the scenes contacted me and sent me all the information and said, here's literally the anti-DSP campaign that was sent to Twitch to make you look awful. Obviously it's completely false.
So this is all a lie here. Phil's making this up, of course, right? Like, if you go by the Dr. Disrespect saga that went on with Twitch, Dr. Disrespect did know why he was banned from Twitch. Basically, the theory goes, because Dr. Disrespect really never came clean on what happened, but the theory goes is that they offered him a contract that Twitch really didn't want to pay. And they were looking for any way out of that contract, and then they found it based on the E3, where he filmed in a washroom, and there were like little kids in the washroom and everything like that. So there was it an Evo tournament? I can't remember what it was. And that was their out to get rid of Dr. Disrespect. Dr. Disrespect knew that. It was very shady the way Twitch did it, and that's why Dr. Disrespect won that lawsuit. They settled out of court or whatever, right? So Phil knows why he was banned from Twitch, but he can't state it because it will make him look bad, and he can't look bad in front of the debt. So he's going to make up some lie that somebody within Twitch knew exactly why and contacted him behind the scenes and told him exactly. There is no concerted effort from detractors to get Phil banned from platforms. Those platforms, if I were to contact, say, Twitch or YouTube or whatever, they are going to look into it to protect themselves legally before they remove Phil, right? If they remove Phil, they have found something that warrants them removing Phil's from their platform. If Phil wanted to, just turn around and sue Twitch. Like, if you're so confident, Phil, and you have all this evidence, and you give it to your lawyer, and your lawyer's like, this is a slam dunk case, you can get it pro bono. They will go and sue Twitch, and then you'll settle out of court for whatever, right? So you're lying, Phil, right? And this is typical Phil Burnell behavior. Lie, 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 lie. Scam, 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 scam. Be the victim, give me money.
Also not a context. It was like a compilation of my worst moments of like 15 years, right? And they sent it to Twitch and said, basically Twitch had to basically get you out of the partner program, because if they didn't and someone complained, then how would they pretend like they're woke? Because of the stuff you said over the years, right? So I'm like, wow. So basically I got punished for things I did like 10, 15 years ago because Twitch has gone fully woke and they don't want anyone
Phil was racist 2 weeks ago on the Street Fighter Friday Night Fight Night stream. Just remember that.
who's ever said risque commentary on their site, despite the fact I've been partnered with them for ages and they never had an issue with it before, and I don't do it now. That's very interesting, okay? So anyway, that's just one example. So someone sent me information and said, we have seen that there's this person who's bragging stupidly on various forums about doing this to you. All right, and what it is this exploit is that
now this is new to me, and I think it's new to every single detractor, because we had no idea what Phil was talking about here. It's not on Reddit, it's not on Kiwi Farms, it's not on any detractor Discord. So unless it's on the King of Hate forums and OIC's LARPing, because more than likely this is OIC, I do have a theory on this, and I think a lot of other detractors share the same theory. But this is a lie here. It's not on any forums, as far as detractors know.
what they do is they use a VPN. If you don't know what that is, it means it's basically a way to make it look like you are in a certain region or country of the world, even though you're not. It's a way to get around if like an IP address is blocked in your country, you can use a VPN to still access the IP address. It protects your identity in a way, okay? So basically, what people have found...
Remember, Phil said a VPN would not help him in any way when the supposed Comcast hacker, that doesn't exist either, because we proved that one, fucking fake, right? Even the Kiwis proved that fake. A VPN would 100% help Phil. He's just too stupid.
Is that there's particular countries where if you go to YouTube under that country, okay, that location, YouTube's pricing is completely wrong. It's not that the pricing is cheaper, it's that it's just fucking wrong, okay? Now, I don't know specifically what countries it is. Apparently one of them is a Spanish-speaking country, okay? So if you log, so for example, right now, if you're in the United States and you want to become a member of DSP Gaming, it's $3.99. That's the pricing that I'm able to control, and that's it. I don't control international pricing, YouTube does. So apparently people found a way to use a VPN to pretend like they live in another country, and when they do that, it changes all the pricing of everything on YouTube. Completely wrong. It's not a correct rate. Like some people say, oh, it's
this is false, right? And Phil should know this. This is what's called. This is basically corporate law when you're. It's okay. Let's explain this here really quick. YouTube is an American-based company, right? Owned by Google, right? Google's the parent company. YouTube is the subsidiary or whatever. So Google operates within the United States. They have to follow the United States labor laws, okay? Now, if Google wants to operate, say, in Argentina, they have to operate based on, within the borders of Argentina, they have to operate within Argentina's labor laws, right? Phil doesn't understand this. And because Argentina, its currency is so devalued against the American dollar, they do have specific laws when it comes to media memberships, things like that. This is the same thing as copyright, right? And this is the same thing that, like, Phil doesn't understand how copyright works. Phil thinks that everybody in the world should follow the American standards and fuck the rest of you, right? America number one. Phil doesn't realize that there's other countries in the world, right, out there that have their own laws, have their own sets of rules. With copyright law, there might be a video that's blocked in Australia but is viewable in the United States, right? A band from Australia, let's say, who's a band? North Lane, right? North Lane from Australia, right? Wicked fucking metal band. Their music might be copyrighted in Australia so that you cannot use it at all. It's a content strike, right? You'll get a content strike on YouTube. Whereas in the United States, you can have it on your video, but they'll just get the ad revenue from it, right? And they played their ads and everything. That is how copyright law works. Purchasing memberships from a different country, depending on how that country operates its laws, YouTube has to agree to, Phil. It's not that the price is wrong. This is how YouTube operates in that country. They have to follow that country's laws. And that decision isn't up to you, Phil. Okay? That isn't up to the American government. It isn't up to YouTube. If YouTube wants to function within the borders of Argentina, because this is where it's going to come from, right? This is the big issue here that we're going to get into. They have to follow Argentinian labor laws, Phil. Okay? Business operation laws.
Exchange rates. No, it's not. It's an exploit. YouTube's pricing is fucked up for certain countries, and it's not right. So basically what this person did is they used a VPN to log in as another country, and they went and bought hundreds of memberships for like pennies, right? So think about this. They bought 50 memberships, and if they did that in the United States, that would be like $4 times 50. That's $200. They were able to get it for like 50 cents because it's fucked up. It's completely broken. So they bought 200, then they used another account, they bought 100, and now this EX Hooligan did it and did 50. 550 memberships purchased via a VPN exploit that should not exist and has incorrect pricing, and they bought 550 memberships for like $2. So you might be like, so why didn't I see the revenue? Well, I did. I made $2 on all those memberships. So how would I even have known that's what it was? There's no way.
And that's a lie, because we're actually going to calculate this here. It's actually very easy to calculate.
You could record that, and it would make any sense. How would you know?
And remember, Phil stated he made no money yet, but he did make $70, and now it's $2, right? So he's lying, right? Dents. Any dent that watches this, I want to talk to you directly right now, okay? I want to talk to you directly. This is the This is the type of loser that you are supporting, right? Somebody who's going to change a story and manipulate you into giving him money because he doesn't understand how laws in other countries' labor works. Okay? So, right now, Phil is scamming you, okay? There's some scenarios we'll go over really quick once we get through this shit or whatever, and then we're going to start debunking this, because it's very, very easy to debunk.
Right? So, to confirm this, there's been super chats that have been coming in from people, and they look huge. For example, someone will do a super chat, and it'll be red, and red means it's the highest tier of super chat, okay? You're like, whoa, it's a red super chat. That means it's very valuable. But when you actually currency convert it from whatever the Spanish currency is that the super chat is, and you convert it to USD, it's like $1 or less. So yeah, it's basically YouTube is fucked up. They have this glitch or exploit, a hole in the system.
Remember last year there was this Mexican YouTuber that was on Phil's channel, gave him like, I think the currency conversion was like $200 American or whatever, and Phil basically insulted the guy, and the guy basically just fucked off, talked about Phil. I can't remember what it was. I know he had it. There's a Detractor channel that has it. I know it does.
Where people are working around where they live and buying things on YouTube insanely cheap. And apparently it's not just me. Apparently this has been going on for months. Like, people have been going to YouTube streamers and dropping hundreds of gifted memberships on their channels, and the people are like, oh my god, this is amazing. This could be like life-changing money for me. You just gave me $1,000.
No other YouTuber does this, right? Like, if you watch, like, I watch Dr. Disrespect, I watch Tim the Tap Man. I like to watch them play Warzone together and shit like that, because it's funny shit, right? They never, ever complain, right? It's like, always like, thank you, man, thank you for that, thank you for that, thank you for that, right? They don't care if it's like 50 cents in Argentinian pesos. They don't give a shit, right? It's always, thank you so much for your donation. Thank you so much for your donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Phil is the only one that's complaining, okay? Right? Phil is the only one that constantly goes over his financials with his audience and makes himself look like a greedy fucking bastard, because he is a greedy fucking bastard.
$1,000, and then they make like 25 cents. And they're like, huh? I want you to think about how fucked up that is. Now, here's the thing. Me, it's not that huge of a deal. I'm not dependent on or expecting to get that kind of crazy income out of gifted memberships, right? But
then why are you talking about it? Right? Why are you talking about it? You were demanding Pajit to give you the fucking money that you deserve. You were doing that recently, Phil. And then you're saying that you don't care about the money on the gifted memberships. You obviously do, because currently now you're triple dipping. You have 3 channels that have memberships. One channel is completely fucking dead, and you promised your viewers that you were not going to enable memberships. You were not going to monetize that channel besides ad revenue, which is now the throwback channel. And then the first thing you fucking did when you got the monetization back, which you shouldn't have because the AdSense is banned, you enabled memberships, you enabled super chats and super thanks on the channel. First thing you did. And you admit that the memberships mean absolutely nothing, and there's still no memberships on that channel.
For someone, imagine someone like they're a small-time streamer, and they're sitting here, and they're live streaming, and someone comes on their stream and says, oh, I'm going to be like a, what do they call that? Like a philanthropist. I'm just dropping on random YouTube streams today, and I'm helping people, right? So here we go. I'm just going to gift you, and they give 500 memberships to their community, and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe this is like life-changing money for me, and it doesn't count. They don't get it. They get a quarter, a nickel. Like, what the fuck? So now here's the deal, all right? Basically, you might say, well, how is this allowed? It's not. It doesn't matter.
It is allowed, Phil, because it's happened, right? Regardless of if you're purchasing it in the United States currency, Canadian currency, Argentinian currency, Chinese currency, Russian currency, Ukrainian currency, it doesn't fucking matter, Phil. People will pay the memberships that YouTube states, because YouTube, if they want to sell memberships in that country for their patrons there, they have to follow the laws, okay? Now, let's just stop that here. So let's take a look at this. So we're going to debunk 2 things here, right? We're going to debunk Phil's theory about the contacting YouTube support, okay? Now, I went ahead and I contacted YouTube support. So let's bring this up here. So this was my discussion today I had with YouTube support. This is after everything happened, right? I went ahead and I contacted YouTube through my YouTube Studio app using their chat program. I logged in at 12:24. Prophet joined the conversation. Prophet selected to answer. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'll connect you with a live agent. Now at, what was it, 1:12, YouTube support assistant participant, Albert connects. Right, Albert gives the generic, thank you for contacting support. How can I help you today? So I told Albert, I just have a quick question. I need to set up my monetization options, and I am having a discussion with a colleague of mine. If I set up a tier membership for $3.99 USD, and say someone who is in, say, Argentina purchases a membership for 50 ARS, do I get the revenue based off of the $3.99 minus YouTube's 30%, or do I get it on 50 ARS minus YouTube's 30%? Okay? Albert, thanks for taking the time to get in touch with us on this. To answer your question, the fees taken will be based on the location of the buyer. So in this case, the 30% and any other fees will be taken from the 50 ARS. Awesome, Albert. Thank you very much. So in that time, it took me 6 minutes to have this conversation with Albert. Albert is a real person. I got the answer that I needed. Remember, Phil stated that he had contacted YouTube support. Unlikely. Okay, I'm going to call Shens on that right now. That's all bullshit. Phil never contacted YouTube support because they would have given him the answer directly that, yeah, unfortunately, this is how much a membership costs. Now, we can actually see what and how much a membership's going to cost on Phil's channel. Now, remember, when you're doing gifted memberships, it's the smallest tier available on that channel, okay? So currently, I have my VPN connected to Argentina. We could bring up to Phil's... Let's bring up his stuff here. So one membership costs... Let me mute this shit because I don't want to listen to his fucking voice. So one membership is going to cost 40 ARS. That is the currency for Argentina, okay? So it's 40 to join Phil, okay? Now remember, the currency for Argentina is very devalued against the American dollar. So we can actually bring this up. Here's the conversion. Why am I having problems? That's Phil's shitty Discord. My bad. Let's bring this up here. There we go. Okay, so here is the currency for Argentina, right? So one Argentine peso is worth 0.0012 American. So let's change this to 40. So roughly one membership is going to cost 5 cents American. Okay? That's how much, that's what Phil is, that's the conversion on it, all right? So let's say Phil got 550 members, okay? Like what Phil is saying. You can calculate this out. 550, right? And Phil is only going to get 5 cents per membership, right? So times 0.05 equals, right? 2750 divided by 1.30, which is YouTube's take, 30%. So Phil is going to end up with $21.15 based on 550 members. Okay, that's all Phil's going to get because YouTube must abide by the labor pricing for corporate access within Argentine borders, right? So Phil's an idiot, right? Now, Phil should have known this, and there is a conversion method within YouTube's program that would allow for this, right? Like, you can change it so it can tell you what you're actually getting. Phil doesn't understand this method whatsoever, okay? So we know that Phil's only going to get $21. Now, remember, Phil said he was getting $70, then that changed now to $2, when in fact he's going to get $21.15 out of these 550 memberships. That's it. That's going to be his extra thing, right? So, like, calculating memberships would be very difficult to track because Phil's channel is available internationally, right? You have viewers in Europe, you have viewers in Asia, you have viewers in South America, you have viewers in North America, you have viewers in Australia, New Zealand, and everything, right? So when I tried doing this earlier, let's click join. Let's join again. Now, what happened is that it deleted my information for Phil's channel, okay, like, or for my YouTube. I could not purchase based on, like, it had deleted all my billing information for this that I have on YouTube. So I wanted to test this. I wanted to see exactly what would happen if I used my Visa, right? So I bought a ticket, or I bought a membership to King Jad Stream. Unfortunately, now my credit card and my bank account are locked, okay? Because it saw, like, a strange purchase in Argentina, and now I'm locked out of my account, okay? I contacted my bank. I'm under a 24-hour lock. I explained what happened. They're okay with it, but I have to wait for 24 hours, okay? So I don't have any money for weed. So if you want to donate money to me through my PayPal for weed, links down in the description. Awesome, thanks. Now, there's a couple scenarios that we could probably go over here, okay? And we'll go over those here shortly. Okay, so let's actually go over the theories right now. Theory number 1. This is an actual dent that lives in Argentina and bought all these memberships for Phil. Okay? Plausible, right? But going to lean more towards scenario number 2. It's a LARP. Now, it's not a detractor or a troll. This is OIC. Okay, now OIC again admitted that he's duty, right? OIC LARPs and trolls Phil hard, but because he gives Phil money, and a lot of money over the years, Phil will not do anything about OIC. And I also think it's in combination with the fact that, again, Phil he does not have the viewership available to warrant members this high, right? Phil's actual memberships are probably more likely around 280. That's where Phil should probably be at without this artificial inflation from member bombs that he has to rely on every month. Phil more than likely can only sustain about 280 members, and that includes sock accounts that OIC has created and other dents have created. Now, again, like, OIC will target Phil, right? Like, we had that going on recently where OIC will tell Phil that, oh, that person talking right there is a troll sock, and then Phil will immediately, like that, ban that person from his chat, right? That's possible new revenue for Phil. That's a new viewer, right? They may stick around, they may tip Phil, they may become a member. OIC has now eliminated that threat, right? And then OIC sits back and laughs while Phil's like, oh, thanks, OIC, thanks for your help, because Phil's an idiot. So, more than likely, this is an OIC LARP. Now, the issue with this is people have asked me, it's like, okay, so if you're going to use your credit card and you've locked your account, okay, so what happens if you use a PayPal? PayPal and Cash App actually have the exact same kind of triggers that a bank will. If they're seeing that you're making purchases from within the city, right, within your city limits, right, like that's where you're always making your purchases constantly from, and then all of a sudden, bang, they get this hit that there was a purchase made in Argentina, right? I know I've been pronouncing Argentina wrong, and I apologize. So they make this purchase in Argentina. It's going to trigger their system, and they're going to put a hold on your account. Your account's now locked, right, until they investigate to make sure that it was copacetic, everything was good, right? You're going to have to contact PayPal and Cash App or your banking institution to get that block removed, right? Now, the only other theory, I know D-Dog and I had talked about this, is using a prepaid credit card, right? Now, I honestly don't think a troll is going to go out of their way to go and purchase a prepaid credit card just to troll Phil. I can see OIC doing it because OIC has done this kind of crazy shit in the past. And very likely, like, I am 99.999% sure it's an OIC LARP that got Phil going. OIC knew it was going to happen, right? The detractors knew, right? We knew right away. It's like, well, yeah, these are purchased with Argentinian pesos, and they're worthless, right? So Phil's not going to see that revenue. He's not going to see, like, Phil was thinking he was going to get, let's calculate this out again. Start running calc. Okay, so 1,047 members times 3.99 equals divided by 1.30. So Phil was expecting he was going to get $3,520.41 based on his memberships, which isn't going to happen, right? He's going to lose, let's say, the 550, right? So what was that, 550? So he's going to lose 20 bucks off of that, right? Or, sorry, my bad. He's going to lose way more than that, right? That's going to basically cut him in half nearly, right? So Phil was expecting to almost have close to almost $4,000 in memberships, right? And that just isn't the case. So, like, I had brought up Phil's Patreon. We saw that here earlier. Let's see if I could bring it up here. DSP Patreon. Now, unfortunately, Patreon doesn't update based on your VPN. So you would still have to pay like 50 bucks American. And we can bring up currency conversion. So what would it cost in peso, in Argentinian pesos? Let's see. Right, so what is it going to be? So we got to change this to United States. $40,933.07 Argentine peso. Okay, that's how much it would actually have to cost you in Argentine peso if you wanted to purchase a membership or a Patreon video. it probably is less than it. I have to log in and actually get the actual pricing. I don't want to log in because I really don't give a fuck. So, like, again, Phil doesn't understand how business works outside of the vortex, right? Phil doesn't understand that there's labor laws in other countries, there's corporate laws in other countries, and if companies from the United States want to operate in these countries, they have to follow that country's labor code, okay, to operate a business in that country. Phil doesn't understand this. This is not a loophole. This is not an exploit. This is just the way it is, right? So more than likely what's happened is OIC, pretending to be somebody from Argentina or wherever else that he can find where it's going to be a low currency, has gifted Phil all these memberships, and knowing full well that's not going to be worth anything, which is going to set Phil off, right? And here we are, day after day for the last 2 weeks of Phil bitching about how Pajit is not going to pay him his money because there is no money to pay Phil. 550 of your 1,147 memberships are only worth $21.17. And that's just the way it is, Phil. So suck it up. Okay? And we're going to end that here. I do have a couple videos, just give some channel news here. I have been having some personal issues behind the stream, behind the scenes here. I know a lot of people know I've been having issues with my father's health. Right now, he is at the hospital again, getting his antibiotic treatment. I'm going to have to start doing that here along with my mom. Because I look after my parents, they live with me. I'm going to start doing the antibiotic treatment myself. Otherwise, I got to take him back and forth every day to the hospital here to get the treatment done. So I'm trying to get in-home care here set up and everything. I got to get a wheelchair ramp for my stepfather. I got to get a better wheelchair for him because he is mobility challenged as well. So I'm working on that. I have a bunch of other videos that I want to work on here. The next video that's probably going to come out, and I apologize, it will not be Prophet OS because I'm still working on that because it keeps changing. The video is going to be based on the latest saga between Dominion, sorry buddy if I'm not pronouncing your handle properly, and Arturo Sanchez. If for those that don't know, Arturo Sanchez basically scammed Dominion out of $3,500 for a PC that is pretty much as old as Phil's current PC, and telling him it's worth $3,500 or whatever, right? So that's now going into a lawsuit. He has filed a lawsuit against Arturo Sanchez, which is supposed to go to court March 7th. So I want to do a video on that. I want to go over the PC itself because it's pretty fucking funny. Like if he's going to load FGC OS on it, it's going to be pretty fucking bad. So I'm going to do that next. I was hoping to do that tonight. Sorry about that. Just have to clear my throat. So basically, that's going to be the next video. I'm going to try to do it tomorrow night. And then again, I want to work hard on Prophet OS because it's really going to lead into that. So that's my next couple steps here. So again, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please check out the other Detractor channels and everything like that. And Phil, fuck you. Yeah, you get what you deserve. Those memberships aren't worth shit. And that's just the way it is.